Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The rain in Lagos was not gentle. It slapped the tarmac with sharp fingers as the plane taxied to a halt at Murtala Muhammad International Airport. Folklore Adedeji, billionaire oil mogul and co-founder of Horizon Tech Holdings, sat rigid in the first-class cabin of his rerouted private flight. His fingers drummed impatiently on the leather armrest. "Sir," his assistant, Bimbo, leaned toward him. "They said your Abuja leg is delayed, weather issues. We'll be grounded here for an hour and a half." Folloren's brows furrowed. "What kind of incompetence is this? I have a board meeting at 8. Bimbo gave a small nod. "We'll try to re-coordinate. Would you like to wait in the VIP lounge?" "No," Folloren snapped. "I'll stretch my legs. And get me something strong." "Neat." He stood, adjusting his Rolex and the Italian-cut navy blazer over his white silk shirt. The scent of cedarwood and expensive frustration followed him as he exited the plane. The Lagos airport bustled with too much life for his liking. Noisy announcements, children crying, the smell of suya blending with jet fuel. He moved briskly through the corridor toward a quieter section near the staff maintenance bay, his usual shortcut to the executive lounge. His phone buzzed. A message from Ezen. "Miss you already? Wear the cologne I like. I'll be waiting tonight, kiss mark." He smirked briefly before tucking the phone away. In that moment of distraction, his wallet slipped from his jacket pocket and landed silently near a wet floor sign at the far end of the janitorial section. Behind him, a woman mopped the tiled corridor with practiced strokes. Her blue uniform was crisp despite the sweat on her forehead. She bent to rinse the mop, then spotted the wallet. She picked it up. "Excuse me, sir," she called softly. Folloren turned. Then time stopped. She stepped into better light and lifted her head. He froze. Her eyes were the same. What? Deep brown with a soft, stormy rim. Her lips, slightly fuller now, parted just enough to let out a quiet breath. A strand of hair escaped her cap and curled at her cheek the same way it used to when she slept. It was her. "Zara," he breathed. She stiffened. "Here," she said, holding the wallet out. "You dropped this." He didn't take it immediately. His fingers hovered mid-air, trembling. What are you doing here?" he asked, voice hoarse. Zara's eyes narrowed. "Cleaning," she replied simply, thrusting the wallet into his hands. "Clearly. Zara, wait. This can't be real." She had already turned back, gripping her mop like it anchored her to earth. Her hands shook slightly. "Is this what life brought you to?" he blurted before he could stop himself. She paused, back still turned. "Life brought me here," she said without looking at him, "after you threw me away." Folloren's heart slammed against his ribs. "I didn't throw you away," he muttered, stunned. "You left. You were too busy climbing ladders to notice what was slipping through your hands," she said quietly. "We both made choices." Before he could reply, a small voice echoed from behind a vending machine nearby. "Mommy, I'm done with my juice." A boy, no older than 7, came bouncing out, holding an empty bottle with colorful beads around his wrist. His hair was thick and curly. His eyes, his dimples, were unmistakable. Folloren's mouth opened, then closed. The boy reached Zara, hugging her leg. "Can we go home now?" "Soon," she said, stroking his head. She glanced briefly, hesitantly, toward Folloren. His knees nearly buckled. "Who is he?" he asked, barely managing to stay composed. Zara didn't answer. The boy looked up at Folloren curiously. "Mummy, who's that man?" She knelt down, brushing the boy's cheek. "He's no one important." Folloren took a step forward. "Zara, wait. Is he mine?" Zara stood. Her face was stone. "Go back to your jet, Folloren," she said. "You're running late." Then she turned, took the boy's hand and walked away. Folloren stood there, his world cracking open, watching the woman he once married, and the boy who might be his son, disappear into the service corridor of a Lagos airport, mopping bucket wheels squeaking behind them. Bimbo arrived just then, out of breath. "Sir, the lounge is cleared. You okay?" Folloren didn't respond. He stared ahead for a long moment. Then muttered, "Find everything you can about Zara, where she's been, and who that boy is." Bimbo blinked. "Zara? As in your ex-wife?" Folloren didn't answer. He just stood still, the wallet in one hand, and the ghost of a future that could have been burning behind his eyes. Zara kept her head down as she clocked out of her shift, pushing the mop cart through the rusted metal service exit at the back of the terminal. The sky outside had darkened into a blurry haze, and her shoes squished faintly with each step through the wet patches along the alley. Jamal tugged at her sleeve. "Mummy, are we taking Kiki today?" She forced a smile. "Yes, baby. No bus this time. Just you and me, okay?" He nodded, holding her tighter as they squeezed past crates and shouting loaders. Zara's heart still pounded from the confrontation. She had planned every part of her life to avoid this exact moment, yet fate threw it in her face at an airport of all places. Folarin had aged gracefully, she admitted to herself. His beard trimmed, his eyes sharper. But she saw something else. Emptiness. That same emptiness that used to crawl between them in silence when she cried in the bathroom at night and he typed work emails like she didn't exist. Inside a quiet cab, Jamal dozed off against her. Zara brushed his curls and whispered, "My sweet boy, you have no idea who you just met." Her mind flashed back. 7 years ago. She was pregnant, glowing and hopeful. Folarin had been away on a business trip in Geneva. When he returned, she ran to him barefoot with ultrasound pictures. But instead of hugging her, he stared at them blankly. "I told you this isn't the right time, Zara," he'd said. "You're going to be a father, Folarin," she whispered. "Can't you see how beautiful this is?" He paced the room. "Do you know what's at stake with the board? With my expansion deal? This will slow everything down." She stood frozen in the hallway, her fingers trembling. Days later he left again. No apologies. No plans. Just more silence. So she packed her things. Left a note that read, "You've made space for everything but us. I'm making space for me now." And she vanished. Back in the present, she wiped her tears quickly as they arrived at the compound. It wasn't much, just 2 tiny rooms on the top floor of an old building with rusted gates, but it was theirs. And it was enough. Or so she told herself. Folarin couldn't sleep. Back at his penthouse in Abuja, he stood in front of his massive glass window staring into the city lights. He gripped a whiskey tumbler, untouched, as Bimbo stood behind him with a file. "She's been working at Lagos International for about 5 years, Bimbo said. "No scandals. Pays her bills. Keeps to herself. Lives with a child, but the father's name is not listed on school forms." Folarin turned slowly. "Does the school have photos of him?" "Yes." Bimbo slid one across the glass coffee table. Folarin picked it up and sat. The photo was simple, school uniform, slightly crooked tie. But the dimples, those were his. He dropped the photo, chest rising. His name? Jamal. Jamal Zara Adedeji. Folarin's mouth twitched. She kept his last name? He turned to Bimbo. "No one else knows?" "Not yet. Not the press. Not the board." I moved quietly. "Good," he said. "Keep it that way. I want to see her again." "Sir." "Arrange something casual. I'll go to her. No drama." Bimbo nodded and walked out. Folarin stared at the photo again. "Jamal," he said aloud, letting the name rest on his tongue. His son. His son. The boy had his eyes. His chin. Even that restless energy he saw in childhood photos of himself. How had he missed this? How had he failed this? He leaned back and whispered to the ceiling. What kind of man doesn't know he has a child? 2 days later, Zara was scrubbing the airport floor near the same terminal when she saw polished shoes approach. She didn't have to look up. "I told you to go back to your perfect life," she muttered. "Is he mine?" Zara froze. Folarin stood a few feet away, dressed down in jeans and a t-shirt, trying hard not to look like the man who owned multiple companies and flew in jets. "You don't get to ask me that," she said without turning. "I'm asking now." Zara stood. "What do you want from us?" "I just want to know the truth." "The truth?" Her eyes flared. "The truth is I was 5 months pregnant when you walked out. The truth is I called your office and your secretary said you were too busy to speak. The truth is you didn't care." "I didn't know," he whispered. "You didn't want to know," she replied. Silence stretched between them. People passed. No one noticed. Zara sighed. "He's happy, Folarin. I protected him from a world that didn't want him." He swallowed. "And what if I want him now?" She shook her head. "That's not how this works. I'm not leaving again, Zara." "Too late," she said. "We already left you." And she walked away, again. The hum of the private jet was usually comforting to Folarin, but not today. He sat alone, his suit slightly unbuttoned, his mind spinning. "She hates me," he said aloud. Bimbo looked up from the cabin bar. "Sir?" "She hates me," Folarin repeated. "And I deserve it." "You didn't know," Bimbo said gently. "I should have." I was so focused on building empires, I destroyed my own home. Bimbo handed him a tablet. I compiled everything, Zara's job records, rent, Jamal's medical records, school scores. She's done everything on her own. Folarin flipped through them. No help. No support. No handouts. Just a woman who disappeared and rebuilt her world around a child he never knew. He closed the file. I want to help them. She won't accept your money, sir? Then I'll give her my time, he said. Every second she was alone. I'll make it up. Bimbo hesitated. What about Ezen? Folarin clenched his jaw. Let me worry about Ezen. He looked out the window as the clouds gave way to sun. But his heart remained buried in a storm. The roof leaked again. Zara used an old plastic basin to catch the slow drip near Jamal's sleeping mat. The compound was quiet, but her heart was noisy, beating with the echo of a past she tried to bury. She watched her son sleep, curled beside his tiny fan. His tiny fingers twitched as if chasing something in his dreams. She sat at the edge of the bed, clutching a worn photograph of herself and Folarin. They were younger, brighter, drenched in wedding day joy. He had whispered something into her ear that day, she had laughed with her whole body. Now that version of her felt like fiction. The power cut off. The room darkened. Zara didn't flinch. She simply picked up a hand fan and began waving it gently over Jamal. Maybe I did the right thing, she whispered. Flashback, Abuja 8 years ago. Zara, I'm trying to be patient, Folarin had said coldly, reviewing documents on his laptop. She sat across the room, pregnancy bloating her feet, tears already wetting her cheeks. I just needed you to be excited, she said. That's all. He didn't look up. Now's not the time. I'm your wife, Folarin. Not a delay. Not a problem. That night she didn't sleep. By dawn she had made her decision. Back in the present her phone buzzed. An unsaved number. She didn't answer. It buzzed again. A message this time. Let me fix what I broke. Please. Folarin. She deleted it. Mummy, are you sad again? Zara jolted. Jamal stood at the doorway rubbing his eyes. No, baby, she said quickly, wiping her face. Why would you think that? You looked like that time you thought Mr. Yakubu overcharged us for the eggs. She chuckled, crouching to his level. You remember too much. Is he my daddy? He asked out of nowhere. Zara's heart plummeted. Who? That man at the airport. The one who stared like he knew me. Zara hesitated. Why do you ask? He looked at me like Mama Eben does when she tells me stories. Like, love. She pulled him into her arms. Sweetheart, I promise I'll tell you everything. But not tonight. Okay, he said softly. Can we still do my cake? Yes. I'll bake it tomorrow. And the crown? You'll get a crown too. His eyes lit up. Because I'm the king of this house, right? The only king, she said, kissing his forehead. Later, while he slept, she opened the small tin box under her bed. Inside were baby pictures, hospital receipts, his first tooth, and a letter she'd written to Folarin the day Jamal was born. She never sent it. The rain poured heavily as Folarin's black SUV rolled slowly into a narrow Lagos street. Children played barefoot in the puddles, shouting with joy. Are you sure this is the place? Folarin asked, scanning the worn buildings. Yes, sir, Bimbo replied. She lives on the top floor of that one. Third door on the right. The driver stopped. Wait here, Folarin said. He climbed the creaky stairs and knocked. The door opened halfway. Zara. She didn't look surprised. Just tired. Is Jamal my son? He asked immediately. She didn't blink. You already know the answer. Then why won't you let me in? Because you left us out. I didn't know. But you didn't ask. They stood in silence. The space between them carried years of hurt. From inside Jamal shouted, Mummy, who's at the door? Folarin tried to peek past her. She blocked his view. I'm not here to fight, he said. I'm here to know. She studied him. He's not ready. And neither am I. I'll wait, Folarin said. For what? For a chance. She shut the door. He stood there, drenched by rain, but soaked deeper in regret. The hospital felt colder than usual. Zara sat stiffly beside Folarin in the waiting area. They didn't speak. A nurse called them in. Jamal sat on the examination bed, swinging his legs. Is this a game? He whispered. Yes, Zara said gently. Just a tiny pinch and then ice cream after. Folarin stepped back, unsure if he was allowed to comfort him. Jamal barely looked his way. The sample was taken. Afterward, in the parking lot, Folarin exhaled deeply. Thank you. Zara folded her arms. This isn't for you. I get that. It's for him. One day he'll ask. I want answers ready. Folarin nodded. I would have done better, if I knew. She turned to him. Would you? Would you have slowed down, Folarin? Would you have loved a woman who needed more than your ambition? He didn't answer. Zara walked away, her shoulders squared. He watched her go, realizing the hardest part wasn't proving Jamal was his. It was proving he could be the kind of man worthy of them both. The white envelope trembled in Folarin's hand. The hospital seal glared back at him like judgment. He opened it alone in his study. Paternity test. 99.99% match. A sharp breath escaped him. Then silence. Not joy. Not panic. Just silence. He picked up a photo of his late father, remembering how he vowed not to be like the man who ruled through absence. And yet here he was. A stranger to his own child. He called Bimbo. Schedule something low-key, he said. Just me and the boy. Understood, sir. Later that week, Folarin sat on a park bench with a tub of strawberry ice cream melting too fast in the sun. Jamal sat beside him, guarded. You like ice cream? Folarin asked. Jamal nodded slowly. I used to like chocolate when I was your age. Then I switched. Why? Because I realized the best things in life are sweet but messy. Jamal smiled a little. That dimple. Folarin choked slightly, eyes glistening. I'm learning about you, he said. You don't know me yet. No, Folarin replied. But I'd like to. And in that moment, it felt like the first page of a brand new book. The ice cream parlor in Ikeja wasn't fancy, but it felt warm. Cheerful posters on faded walls, the sweet hum of a generator out back, children giggling at sticky tables. Folarin watched Jamal scoop vanilla into his mouth with surgical focus. Zara sat nearby, silent. Her arms were folded tightly across her chest. She didn't trust the moment, not yet. Jamal, Folarin said carefully, what do you want to be when you grow up? A pilot, the boy replied without hesitation. Why? So I can fly to heaven and ask God where my daddy is. The room dropped several degrees. Folarin's throat tightened. Zara looked away, blinking hard. You think he's in heaven? Folarin asked softly. Jamal nodded. Mum said he's watching me. Zara cut in gently. I meant spiritually, sweetheart. That even if someone's far away, they can still be proud of you. Jamal turned to Folarin. Are you my uncle? Before Zara could intercept, Folarin leaned forward. No, Jamal. I'm your dad. The spoon in Jamal's hand paused midair. Like for real? Folarin nodded, his voice shaking. For real. Jamal studied him. Then slowly he smiled, showing dimples that mirrored Folarin's. You don't look like the dads on cartoons, he said innocently. Folarin laughed, wiping his eyes. No. I guess I don't. And for the first time Zara didn't walk away. Back in Abuja, Mama Eben sat on her veranda sipping bitter leaf tea when Folarin arrived unannounced. His usually confident stride was missing, replaced by the measured pace of a man carrying something heavy. This one you're visiting without warning, something has happened, she said, adjusting her scarf. He bent and kissed her hand. Mama, I have something to tell you. She frowned. You're not dying, are you? No. But someone's been alive. Someone important. Talk properly, Folarin. I'm old, not slow. He took a deep breath. Mama, I have a son. He's 7. His name is Jamal. She blinked. Then blinked again. You have a what? A son, Mama. With Zara. The cup in her hand tilted, spilling tea on her wrapper. She didn't notice. You said she left. That she abandoned the marriage. I did that. I was cold. I buried myself in work. She was pregnant when she left. Mama Eben stood, her face stormy. You let my grandchild grow up in the streets while you flew around in jets? Folarin lowered his head. I'm trying to make it right. I want to see them, she said immediately. Both of them. That child, my blood. How dare you keep this from me? I just found out, Mama. Well, now go and find them again. And bring them here. Zara sat stiffly beside Mama Eben in the plush Abuja living room. Her dress was simple, but her composure was royal. Jamal sat on the rug, playing with wooden figurines Folarin had imported from Europe just yesterday. My baby, Mama Eben whispered, eyes misting as she watched Jamal. Zara cleared her throat. I wasn't trying to hide him. I just didn't know I had the right anymore. Nonsense, Mama said, holding Zara's hand. You were always the best thing that ever happened to this family. My son was just too blind to see. Folarin, seated opposite, watched them. His mother's approval, the one thing that always mattered, felt distant now. Jamal looked up and asked, "Grandma, do you know any stories about Daddy?" Mama Eben smiled and pulled him onto her lap. "Too many, little one. Let me tell you about the time he tried to fry plantain and nearly burned the whole house down." Laughter filled the room. Zara smiled faintly. And Folarin finally saw what he had missed all those years, the quiet magic of a home. Not money. Not power. Love. And it was still here. Waiting. Ezen stormed into Folarin's office unannounced. "Tell me it's not true," she demanded, slamming her handbag onto the mahogany desk. Folarin barely looked up. "What?" "That you've been flying to Lagos. That you took her and that bastard child to meet your mother." "Don't talk about him like that," he snapped. Her eyes widened. "Oh, so it's true." "Yes," he said, standing. "He's my son. And she's the mother of my child. Show some respect." Ezen scoffed. "Respect? I've stood by you for years. Sacrificed my career, my time. You were never a sacrifice. You were a choice. One I made when I thought love was a distraction. And now? Now I know love was the point." Ezen's face hardened. "If you go through with this, I'll expose everything. I know things about Zara's past. Her job. Her struggle. I'll make sure she disappears again." Folarin stepped closer. "Do that and you'll never see the inside of my life again." "Is that a threat?" "No," he said coldly. "It's a promise." She picked up her bag, trembling with rage. "This isn't over." But as the door slammed shut behind her, Folarin knew it was. Zara agreed to a quiet lunch at a modest cafe. Folarin had promised no press, no drama. Just him, her, and Jamal. They sat in the shaded garden area. Jamal giggled as Folarin taught him how to balance a spoon on his nose. Zara watched silently, guarded but softening. Then came the click of high heels. Ezen. Draped in designer silk, her sunglasses pushed high on her head like a crown of entitlement. "Oh, what a cozy little reunion," she sneered. Zara's jaw clenched. Jamal immediately looked confused. "Who's she, Mummy?" "Just ignore her, baby," Zara whispered. But Ezen wasn't done. "Careful, darling. Your mummy here used to scrub toilets while I was attending charity galas with your daddy." Folarin stood. "Ezen, leave. Now." She turned to Zara. "Don't think this little Cinderella comeback makes you worthy." Zara stood slowly, hands trembling. "Come, Jamal," she said calmly. "We're done here." As they walked away, Ezen shouted, "Once a cleaner, always a cleaner." Jamal's small voice asked, "Mum, is that true?" Zara knelt and looked him in the eyes. "I clean floors, yes. But I never let the dirt touch my heart." Folarin stared after them, ashamed. Not of her, but of himself. And how long it took to see what truly mattered. It was 2:11 a.m. Zara sat at her tiny kitchen table, lit only by the flicker of a low battery lantern. Jamal slept peacefully in the next room, his birthday crown from last year still hanging on the wall. Her fingers trembled as she put pen to paper. She didn't know why she was writing. Maybe she needed to let it out. Maybe she didn't have the strength to speak the words aloud. "Folarin, I don't know if I'll ever give this to you, but I need to write it anyway. When I met you, I was a girl who believed love was enough. And for a while I think you believed it too. We danced barefoot in kitchens. We talked for hours in the dark. I thought we had forever. But then forever started shrinking. The love we had began making room for meetings, clients, deadlines, until one day I realized I was in a marriage with a man who had no room for me at all. I found out I was pregnant alone. I walked into that clinic clutching a stick that promised everything and nothing. I wanted to be excited. But I was scared, and more than anything I wanted you to be scared with me. Instead I got silence. You made me feel like an inconvenience, a pause in your rise to power. So I left. Not because I stopped loving you, but because I needed to survive. I've worked jobs that broke my back. I've swallowed pride so my son could eat. But I never once regretted Jamal. He is my sunrise in the middle of every night. You ask if he's your son. Yes, in every way. But the bigger question is, are you ready to be his father? Zara. She folded the paper and slipped it into an envelope. Then, for the first time in years, she cried without hiding her face. Folarin stood at the edge of the conference stage, heart pounding. Rows of cameras flashed. The hall was packed with reporters, board members, and shareholders. Everyone expected a new product reveal or corporate expansion. But today wasn't about business. He stepped up to the podium. "Good afternoon," he began. "Today I come before you not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, but as a man who nearly lost everything that mattered. Whispers rippled across the room. I recently learned I have a son. His name is Jamal. He is 8 years old. He's kind, curious, brilliant, and he didn't know I existed. Gasp. But that's not his fault. It's mine. Somewhere backstage, Bimbo stood nervously watching. For years, I measured success by the deals I closed and the empires I built. But what's an empire worth when it's built on silence, abandonment, and pride? He took a deep breath. I hurt the woman who loved me. I missed 8 years of my son's life. And I am sorry. A hush fell. Then the murmurs grew, praise, skepticism, awe. Someone asked, "Why go public, sir?" Because men like me don't get questioned enough. We disappear from lives and call it focus. We neglect families and call it drive. I'm done hiding behind titles. Ezen watched from her screen at home, seething. Zara watched too, Jamal on her lap. She couldn't breathe. Folarin looked straight into the camera. To my son, I will never disappear again. Zara stood nervously outside a modest event center decorated with balloons and handmade signs that read, "Happy 8th birthday, Jamal." It had been Folarin's idea. At first she resisted. "No expensive gestures," she had said. "He doesn't need a circus. He needs consistency." Folarin had nodded. "Then let me start by showing up." Inside, children ran around with party hats while parents sipped Zobo and munched Puff Puff. No paparazzi. No press. Just joy. Jamal stood at the center wearing a blue birthday sash and a grin that stretched to the walls. He held a karaoke mic and declared, "Now my daddy's here, I'm going to sing loud." Everyone laughed. Zara watched from the side, heart tight. She had been unsure whether to come. But her son's face made every fear worth facing. Folarin stood beside her, handing her a cup. She hesitated. "Don't worry," he smiled. "It's Chapman. I remember how you hated champagne." She accepted the cup. "So you do remember something." "I remember everything, Zara. I just buried it under ambition." A long pause. "You're doing better," she admitted. "I'm trying." A group of kids pulled Jamal toward the cake table. Zara smiled faintly. "He's never had something like this. He will. Every year." As the cake was rolled out, everyone began to sing. Jamal's voice rang loudest. "Happy birthday to me." He turned mid-song, pointed proudly, and shouted, "Look, that's my dad." And for the first time since their wedding, Folarin saw Zara smile without restraint. The rain tapped gently on the window of Folarin's Range Rover as he pulled into the quiet, gated compound. It was late, well past Jamal's bedtime. But Folarin wasn't here for him tonight. He stepped out holding a small gift bag and a shiny key in an envelope. Inside the modest two-room apartment, Zara was folding Jamal's clothes. She just switched off the iron when a knock came. She opened the door slowly and sighed. "Folarin, it's late." "I know," he said softly. "But I needed to see you." She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You should have called. I was afraid you wouldn't let me in." She didn't answer, but she moved aside. Folarin stepped in, looked around at the neat but fading furniture, the taped ceiling fan cord, the lone flickering bulb. His throat tightened. Zara closed the door behind him. "What is it?" He handed her the small bag. She opened it to find a glossy envelope. Inside, a new apartment lease. Fully furnished. Safe neighborhood. Great schools nearby. "I got it for you. For Jamal," he added quickly. "He deserves a better place. So do you." Zara stared at the paper in silence. "I'm not trying to buy anything," Folarin said. "I just want to give back what I should have given all along. Security. Space. Dignity." She met his eyes. "And if I say no?" "I'll respect it," he replied. "But the offer will still stand." She pulled out the key. It sparkled under the light. "This key means nothing without sincerity," she said. "I'm being sincere." "No," she shook her head. "Sincerity isn't what you offer with gifts, Folarin. It's what you offer with time, with consistency. You can't just show up when it's convenient. You can't patch up 8 years of absence with a luxury apartment." Folarin nodded slowly. "I know that. Which is why I want more than this place. I want to be there in the mornings when he's brushing his teeth. I want to learn how he likes his pancakes. I want to be the man he looks up to, not the man who shows up in suits and leaves in silence." Zara's eyes flickered with emotion, but she blinked it back. "And if he asks why you weren't there all along? Then I'll tell him the truth," Folarin said. "That his father was a fool. But he's learning." A long silence hung between them. Zara finally placed the lease and key back into the envelope and held it out to him. No, she said gently. Not yet. He hesitated, confused. You're turning it down? I'm asking you to earn it. Spend time with your son. Show up again. Again. And again. Until he doesn't doubt you anymore. I can do that, Folarin said without flinching. Zara folded her arms. And me? He paused. You don't owe me anything. But if I ever have a chance to try again with you, I'll take it. But this time I'll do it right. No shortcuts. No press releases. Just me. Folarin. The man you fell in love with. She looked at him a moment longer, then smiled faintly, small, hesitant, but real. Okay, she said quietly. We'll see. Folarin stepped back to the door, nodding. Good night, Zara. As he opened the door, her voice stopped him. Folarin? Yes. She held the envelope close to her chest. Thank you. For asking, not assuming. He nodded, swallowing emotion. Thank you for not slamming the door. And then he left, with no apartment handed over, no ribbon-cut ceremony, and no promise from her. Just hope. And that was more than he deserved, but exactly what he needed. The school auditorium was buzzing. Folding chairs lined the hall in uneven rows, some parents still dragging theirs in. Children whispered excitedly behind the stage curtain, adjusting cardboard crowns, paper wings, and glittery name tags. The school's annual cultural presentation was one of the most anticipated days of the year, and this year Jamal was performing. Zara stood in the back, adjusting Jamal's costume just outside the dressing area. He wore a Kent-patterned sash across his chest and held a tiny wooden flute nervously in one hand. You look like a prince, she smiled. I feel like my stomach's playing the flute too, he whispered, clutching it. She knelt. You've practiced. You're ready. And guess what? He looked up. Your dad is here. Right in the audience. Jamal's eyes lit up. He came. Zara nodded. No suit. No suit. Just jeans and his favorite dad t-shirt. Jamal grinned. Okay. I'll play my best. Zara gave him a quick kiss on the forehead and gently nudged him toward the teacher calling for his class. Then she made her way to the auditorium. Folarin stood near the center row, 2 empty chairs beside him. He spotted her and stood immediately. I saved your seat. And Mama's. Mama? Zara asked. He gestured behind him. Mama Eben was entering slowly with the help of a walking cane, smiling like she was arriving at a royal coronation. I wouldn't miss my grandson's big day, she said, settling beside Zara. Besides, I want to see if he inherited your terrible stage fright or Folarin's show-off genes. Zara laughed under her breath. The lights dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd. Then the children began. Each child stepped forward to recite proverbs in Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. One girl sang about strength. Another recited a poem about family. Then the teacher called out, Next we have Jamal Adedeji performing a piece he composed himself. Zara's fingers clenched the edge of her seat. Folarin leaned forward, holding his breath. Jamal stepped into the spotlight, flute in hand. He looked small. Vulnerable. He brought the flute to his lips and played a soft, uncertain note. Then another. And another. The melody danced into the air, simple, imperfect, but full of heart. A tune made up of mistakes and magic. Halfway through he paused. Then he spoke. My name is Jamal Adedeji. I used to think my daddy lived in heaven. But now I know he's here. And he's learning how to be with me. And that's okay. Gasps echoed softly. Folarin froze. Zara turned slowly toward him. He was crying. Not the silent, dignified tears of a boardroom man. But full, raw tears of someone broken and rebuilding, of a father finally found. Jamal continued. This song is called The Family We Choose. Because sometimes we don't get perfect families. But we can still choose to love each other and start over. Then he played the last notes. The hall erupted in applause. Zara stood and clapped, her hands shaking. Mama Eben was already wiping her eyes, whispering prayers under her breath. Folarin stood too, whispering, That's my son. My son. After the program, parents gathered outside under the neem trees. Children ran with cupcakes and paper crafts. Jamal dashed up to them. Did you see me? You were amazing, Folarin said, crouching to meet his eyes. I'm so proud of you. Zara touched his shoulder gently. We both are. Can we take a picture? Jamal asked. Of course, Zara smiled. They huddled together under the wide blue sky, Folarin, Zara, Jamal, and Mama Eben with her cane, and smiled. One of the teachers offered to snap the photo. Say, Family? Click. It wasn't a perfect picture. Mama blinked mid-shot. Zara's hair had come loose. Jamal made a goofy face. But Folarin, he smiled like a man who'd finally come home. Later that night, back at Zara's flat, they sat on her balcony. Jamal had gone to sleep, clutching his hand-drawn certificate from school. Zara handed Folarin a cup of tea. "I didn't give you the key," she said quietly. "I know. But I watched today. I saw you hold him when he tripped backstage. I saw how you looked at him. And I realized." She looked him in the eye. "You're not trying to replace the past. You're trying to build something new." Folarin nodded. "That's all I want." She reached into her pocket and placed the key on the table. "I don't need a big apartment," she said. "But I'm willing to start again with honesty. With time. With love." Folarin's breath caught. "I'm not rushing you," he said. "Even if it takes forever." She cut him off gently. "It won't." Then silence. But not the painful kind. The kind filled with second chances. With chosen family. With beginnings. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.